I had played all 4 Bleach games on PS2 that never left Japan to see if they deserved to have come to the West, or if they were hollow games. How about we start with the oddest one? An RPG, Bleach Hanatareshi Yabou, which translates to Bleach Released Emergent Ambition. This is more of an original story that does not follow the show. You start right after Ichigo becomes a Shinigami, and it diverts rather quickly with the Soul Society captains coming down to Earth. I did some research on the game, and based on what I found, the main villain is a researcher, Bansui Amatsuki, who was banished from Soul Society. He plots revenge against the Shinigami, and it's hinted that he is Urahara's mentor. It was a bit hard to follow the story since the game is in Japanese. Every time characters would start talking, I had my phone up to translate the text. This is an RPG, so they talk a lot. So I had the Google Translate app on one hand and the PS2 controller on the other. You would think I would have my phone up the whole time, but for some reason the menus in the games are in English. I'm grateful, but it's just odd to me. I did like that the game has an in-game explanation of seeing what other characters are doing, with this stone that shows you what they're currently doing. While I say this is an RPG, this is a turn-based RPG to be exact. It's an RPG that has all the things you would expect from it, from leveling up after battles, skills, item equipment, and characters taking turns attacking, somewhat. It does only allow you to attack with one character at a time, but you get to choose the order of who attacks. It's not based on a speed stat, but on who you want. This is a big advantage for you, but before you attack, enemies can cut you off and attack instead, which feels like the game is cheating. Even more frustrating, when they do that, they can do it multiple times in a row. Luckily, you also get a chance to do extra damage if this weird circle appears while you're attacking. If you press the attack button when you see this, it will turn it into a bigger attack. Instead of waiting for this chance, you can also use skills, which are typical in RPGs, but you also get double skills that will allow 2 characters to combine their special attacks. Combining attack is the advantage that characters in the front row receive, while the rear characters get HP and MP recovery after every round. However, that's not the only thing the rear characters have. They are the only ones who can use items, which is weird. Not only that, but you can revive a character by just healing them. I'm used to Revive or Phoenix down for this, but it's neat, you don't have to. Combat is usually done when you get to a scripted area or get random encounters. Sadly, the random encounters are one of the few things in the map, as there's not much there. Everything looks repetitive, and finding these shiny objects is an item you can pick up, and it has a cool jingle. After 5 hours with this game, I have to say this game has potential. Its what-if story is something fans would love to experience, but fans might get annoyed by the lackluster environment and enemies randomly interrupting you while attacking. I think its worst enemy is the language barrier. For a Bleach fan, this might be worth it for the new story, but for anyone else, I don't think juggling a phone and a controller to understand the story is worth it. How about we switch over to the game you can get by without even having to use your phone? Bleach Erabareshi Tamashii, which translates to Bleach Selected Souls. This game's story takes place after the Soul Society arc. Ichigo and friends are meeting up at Urahara's shop and are told to be on the lookout for a giant hollow. This giant hollow is causing sightseeing of hollows to rise, and they have been asked to take care of them since Soul Society is not fast enough. The game sends you to different locations to defeat hollows with a hack and slash combat. You have a simple 4-hit combo with light attacks, which can be mixed up with a heavy attack in between. There is also a special move that uses up the meter to hit everybody around you. However, there is another cool use for the meter, and this is for combos. If you hit your enemies with a combo move, you can juggle them in the air and keep them in the air by using your meter. If you keep hitting them and fill up the combo, you can end it with 2 powerful hits. But if you have a specific pair of characters, you have a cool cutscene. I do like this, and it has this freestyle type combo thing to it, but it does get old fast. You get a partner in every mission, and they're very helpful. There's a button that lets you switch between them anytime, or you can have them do a support move that will take up some of the meter. You're also given some defense options like blocking or dash meant for evasion. However, you will rarely use these moves since the enemies are super simple. They don't pose a challenge, and most of the time you're going to be doing the same move that hits the most amount of enemies since movement is stiff and there's no reason to change tactics. If anything, the dash will be used to move around the empty area faster. Maps have these small linear areas that have almost nothing on them besides a few power-ups and these trash cans. Breaking these trash cans will free these butterflies that will give you extra rings. You're greeted at the end of each mission that gives you rings and increases the friendship between characters. Not sure what this friendship meter does. I can only assume it makes combo attacks stronger, but the rings are used to unlock characters. Not by buying them, that would be too complicated. You will unlock them if you have enough rings before completing a certain mission. If you don't have enough rings, you will not unlock the character, but you do get more chances. At the end of the game, you face off against a giant hollow, and it's so tedious. He seems to have 2 health bars, and you have to knock down the first one to be able to hit his actual health bar. However, when you knock the first health bar down, you have seconds before the first health bar regenerates. After a frustrating fight, you can replay the game again, but keeping the rings from before. This will allow you to retry getting the other 8 characters. They're a bit different in attacks and stats, like how Chad punches so slow, I thought my controller stopped responding. But with how easy enemies are, there's very little reason to change characters. If you're a Bleach collector, this is a game that goes on your shelf, but for everyone else, we still have 2 games to talk about. Now, let's talk about a good game. Bleach Battle Bladers. The game story is a collection of 6 mini scenarios. Some of them are serious sections, while others are more silly in nature. In each scenario, you do 4 to 5 fights, and it takes place sometimes after the Soul Society arc. It makes sense that the story is not a big priority, as this is a 3D arena battler. They don't tend to focus on the story with these type of games. So, how does this game play? You get a 4-hit light attack combo, and it has this freestyle where you can finish the combo anywhere with one of 2 special moves. You can also do the special moves independently. On top of that, we have 2 super special moves, which are more powerful than the regular one. These require the meter for you to use, and one of them will take up 1 meter, and the other is like an ultimate requiring you to use up all 3 meters. The ultimate does disrupt the pace of the game since it forces everyone playing to watch this cutscene. Another powerful tool you have is transformations. You can have the Shinigami use their Bankai or have the other characters do something to transform, and it becomes a more powerful version of themselves. It does have some checks in place so it does not get abused, by forcing the players to have a full meter, and that meter will become the character's time limit in this mode. You can perform super special moves, and it's more of a combat mechanic as your health bar needs to be below 50% to be even able to use it. There's also defensive options in the games like blocking, countering, parrying, evasion, and combo breaker. They have their strengths and weaknesses, like countering lets you tank hits but is slow, while parrying lets you stop an attack but has to be precise. Evasion and combos are interesting as they require you to use some meter to use. Every character has all these options, and you start the game with 5 characters. You can unlock 17 more of them for a total of 25. But you don't do this through the story mode, but through mission mode. Here you do missions or fights, and you're scored at the end. The game will keep track of the overall score on all the missions, and when you reach a certain amount, you will unlock a character. It's a typical mode, but it's fun to play through. However, the coolest thing about this mode is that you can play it in co-op. So if you have a buddy, you can play it with them. Local co-op always get extra brownie points in my book, since a friend can exponentially make a game better. If instead of working together, you want to play against each other, the game has free battle mode. You can have up to 4 players in one map to fight against each other in team battles or free-for-alls in an arena. You are usually locked to one enemy, and it's difficult to switch smoothly between enemies, but they do have this mode where you don't lock to anybody. It makes it easier to move around and destroy objects that drop items. This game mode gets chaotic with 4 people fighting at the same time, items just randomly dropping, and stage hazard. There are 9 stages in this game, and some have hazards while others don't. After every fight, you'll be given rings which you can use up in the shop. You can get a lot of neat extras, and there's something extra you can get while in the game. There's actually one last mode called Blade Hunter. Here you do fight with specific characters, and when you defeat them, you are given an extra option to allow that character you played as to do the special move of the character you faced. So you can see some interesting cool special attacks or even have a nice laugh. This is a fun and chaotic 4-player mayhem. It has a few single player modes for you to play, and on top of that, it's very easy to play even with it being in Japanese. While this game is fun, it's obsolete because of our next game. Bleach Battle Bladers 2 is a sequel to the last game. It's very similar but with many upgrades. The story mode is back and it looks much nicer from the last game. It does work the same way with 5 fights in each scenario. It even has a similar last fun scenario of the first game, which is a cool nod to it. However, they have one more scenario and they delve further into the anime story with the Aranka arc. But what about the gameplay? A lot of the gameplay is the same, and that's to be expected with a sequel. Some characters have the same moves, and others have something changed about them. But there are some fundamental changes in all the characters. Ultimate moves have been changed from cutscenes to these big attacks. I like this change, as a lot of characters have different types of ultimate attacks, making them more unique and keep the pace of the game going. On the other end, they added cutscenes to the transformations, which is a bit of a bummer, but it makes more sense because they have so much more impact in the game. They have been upgraded to be this big thing that everyone in the stage will be affected by, and they have to pay attention to it. I think these transformations are so much better than the last game, and it also has its own meter. Since the meter is separated, you can now do super moves while in your transformations. All of this causes the game to be more chaotic, but it benefits it by making all these moves look so much cooler and impactful. Speaking of characters, they have upped the amount of characters to 36, which are also unlocked in the new mission mode. It's fundamentally the same mode where you do fights to unlock characters, but you play in this board map. You move around these panels where you do fights, and the one with the characters on top will unlock the character. You will be spending most of your time here, and again, it lets you play co-op with a buddy. Extra brownie points. Blade Hunters does not return, which gives the game a little more wacky fun to it by allowing you to change a character's special moves, but they do replace it with something else. In the shop, you're also able to buy all the collectibles in the game, but you can also get accessories. You can equip the character with fun and silly accessories you can use in the game. It even keeps it on during the transformations. It's Senior Ichigo. One more that I was surprised was not in the first game is the tutorial, which was really helpful getting started in this game. After playing all 4 Bleach games on the PS2, here are my thoughts. Bleach Blade Battles 2 is the clear winner and deserved a Western release. Bleach Blade Battles 1 would have been a great introduction to the series, but does not offer anything unique compared to its sequel. Hanatareshi Yabou would have been a great game for Bleach fans with its what if story. If only it had been localized, it would have fixed this game's language barrier. Erabareshi Tamashii is a repetitive hack and slash with hollow combat that we're fine without. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to see more anime PS2 games because the next video will be on Full Metal Alchemist PS2 games. And comment down below which series I should cover after that. But as always, my lovely patients, I thank you so much for watching and tune in next time. Bye.